There is an old image that returns again and again across history. A man stands over fire and iron, shaping a blade. He does not rush. He does not strike wildly. He heats the metal, folds it, tempers it, and returns it to the flame. Again, and again, and again. Because he understands something simple. A blade does not become sharp by accident. It becomes sharp through pressure, restraint, and repetition. And it loses that sharpness in almost the same way. Not all at once, not in one dramatic moment, but slowly, quietly, through neglect, through softness, through the absence of friction. The same is true of men. But stop there for a moment. What if losing your edge did not feel like collapse? What if it felt like relief? What if it looked like relief? What if it looked harmless? Would you notice it? Would you admit it? Or would you rename it something easier to live with? Would you tell yourself nothing was wrong because nothing had fully fallen apart yet? This is how many men lose themselves, not in one catastrophic failure, but gradually. A little more comfort, a little less discipline, a little more distraction, a little less resistance, until one day something feels different. The hunger is weaker, the presence is thinner, the mind is slower. The fire is not dead, but it is no longer under command. And that is what makes it dangerous. Because the things that dull a man rarely arrive looking like enemies. They arrive looking like permission.
If a man repeats discipline, he becomes more disciplined. If he repeats indulgence, he becomes easier to control. Not overnight, quietly, through routine, through habit, through the ordinary shape of days. That is why the edge is fragile. It must be renewed, protected. Because modern life is full of things designed to make a man softer without ever forcing him to notice the trade. Endless stimulation, endless convenience, endless little exits from silence, boredom, effort, and discomfort. And one of the first ways men lose their edge is through comfort. Hardship wakes a man up. Comfort lets him drift. In harsher times, weakness was punished faster. Laziness cost more. Hesitation cost more. But now, many consequences arrive slowly. A man can live badly for years before the damage becomes undeniable. He can keep the appearance of a life while losing the substance that once held it together. And ask yourself honestly, isn't that what makes comfort so deceptive? It does not attack. It seduces. It whispers. It tells a man to avoid what is difficult, to postpone what is necessary, to indulge a little more because he has already suffered enough. And once a man starts saying that often enough, the standard drops. The tolerance for discomfort weakens. What once felt normal begins to feel extreme. Then there is distraction. There was a time when boredom had value. It forced a man to sit with himself, to think, to observe, to endure silence long enough for something deeper to appear. Now, many men treat stillness like a threat. The moment quiet arrives, they reach for noise. The moment pressure appears, they reach for escape. But a distracted man cannot remain sharp for long, because real force is not noise. It is concentration. It is the ability to stay with one thought, one task, one direction, long enough for something real to happen. Distraction steals that. It scatters a man across 10,000 impulses. He becomes reactive instead of deliberate, busy instead of precise, entertained instead of sharpened. Have you felt that? Your body in one place, but your attention everywhere else. An hour gone, then another, and nothing solid built from any of it. That is not power. It only resembles movement from a distance. Men also lose their edge when they begin explaining themselves too much. Not every kind of openness is strength. Sometimes it is only dependency wearing a better mask. The need to justify every move, the need to be understood by everyone, the need to speak before the work is done. But ask yourself, why does a man feel the urge to explain himself so often? Is it clarity or insecurity? Is it honesty or the fear of being misunderstood? Is it strength or the need for permission? A man with an edge does not leak himself carelessly into the world. He understands that speech can disperse force. The more desperate you are to be understood, the more dependent you become on other people's reactions. And the moment your center depends on their approval, your center is no longer fully yours. That leads to another thing: approval. Many men do not beg for approval openly. They adapt quietly. They say what will be accepted. They soften what should remain firm. They hide what they actually think. They choose image over standard, applause over truth. But what happens to a man when he is always checking the room before he speaks? What happens when being liked matters more than being aligned? Something in him weakens. Because the edge requires internal authority. It requires the ability to stand inside your own judgment, even when it is not immediately rewarded. A man who needs constant validation will bend too easily, and every time he bends against his own standard, he loses a little more self-respect. Then there is emotional leakage. We live in a world that encourages constant display. Every irritation must be posted. Every wound must be performed. Every frustration must be expressed instantly. But expression is not the same as mastery. A man with an edge is not numb. He is not cold in the dead sense. He simply knows how to contain force. He can feel anger without being ruled by it. He can feel desire without obeying it. He can feel pain without turning pain into identity. That matters. Because once a man reacts to everything, he becomes easy to move, easy to provoke, easy to predict. And when a man is easy to move, people feel it. The strength may still be there, but it is no longer held. It spills, it leaks, it loses shape. And maybe that is the deeper issue beneath all of this: shape. So if something in you has gone dull, do not panic. Do not perform regret. Do not build an identity out of weakness. Do not waste time announcing what you already know. Begin again. Return to friction. Return to silence. Return to work. Return to the habits that make a man calmer, clearer, and harder to move. Because the edge is rarely lost in a single moment, and it is rarely restored in one either. It is rebuilt the old way, through pressure, through restraint, through repetition. And maybe that is the real dividing line between men. Not talent, not status, not appearance, but whether a man still has the courage to place himself back into the fire and be shaped.